There may be times when you have to create more transitional, slightly more neutral kind of music, and in this case, which may affect the scale type you choose and the chord type. In this case, we're going to use Mixolydian and sus chords, which is actually one of John Williams' favorite tricks, is sus bass chords, and especially in his neutral music. However, we're going to go from neutrality to a little bit more drama, all based off of Mixolydian, because there is no one scale that fits everything. But the one thing we want to keep in mind is the sus bass chords, and the just sudden modulation jumps are okay because you're using sus chords and it's very neutral. It doesn't sound very dramatic when you just simply jump like that. Let's listen. So you went from neutrality. Well, the beginning was just a way to start it. So we went from that sort of neutral kind of continuous sus music to gradually having a build up with Mixolydian, then a little bit more grand version of Mixolydian with one borrowed chord. You could borrow with Mixolydian, by the way. You could borrow with any scale. And if you prefer the term modal interchange, use that. I'm not really picky about these kind of things. Whatever term works for you works for you. But introducing borrowed chords or modal interchange to a mode actually creates some very cool dramatic effects. So let's get started. So the first neutral-ish kind of area uses this E sus2 flat 7 with Mixolydian, E Mixolydian. Then it shifts to C Mixolydian with a sus4. Then it goes to A Mixolydian. I start using more third bass triads to create a build-up. So let's start over. E, sus2, flat 7. What's a little melodic thing over the top? Melodic thing. Sudden shift to C Mixolydian, sus4. Also notice the continuous use of the same kind of motifs. Now it goes to A Mixolydian. We start using a little bit more third bass triads to create a little build-up. And this is just a super reduced block chord version. But you get that pedal point really helps the build-up. So then it goes to a little bit more dramatic Mixolydian in C. The 5 of Mixolydian, the flat 3, the 4. So I like to use a lot of the same melodic motifs over and over again because it's more like glue when you're doing stuff like this. So you notice it's very similar melodically, even when it does the little bit more of a dramatic area. So there's one, you can use borrowed chords, or if you prefer the term modal interchange, that's fine too, but any mode could be mixed with any other mode's chords. That's very, very common. So this is going to be a short video, but the key takeaways is when you're using Mixolydian, if you use a lot of sus kind of chords with it, like a flat 7 or something and little melodic lines above, it's going to sound very neutral and transitional. So what else to notice is that when you just simply jump modulate with sus chords, it doesn't sound very dramatic. Now, if I did a bunch of pivot chord modulations with third bass triads, it would actually sound way more dramatic, and I was trying to avoid that. So if you actually remember that, a lot of pivot chord modulation with third bass chords is going to sound more dramatic, and pivot chord modulation is actually harder to master as opposed to sudden jumping. But if you sudden jump modulate with sus bass chords, it's not going to sound very dramatic. Just remember that it's not going to sound very it won't sound over the top, but the sudden shifts will keep the momentum going as if the music is continuously moving toward in a direction.